Hello, everybody. It's Eugene Crockett, known as Crockett the Rocket. Brent is not going to be available today, so I'm actually here. He asked me to come on and talk to you a little bit about what I've been doing this year. Um, Great to see so many faces on here. Year to date in Florida, I'm in Brevard County, known as the Space Coast. I just hit 13.5 million in closed sales year to date. So we're about 5.5 months in. Just so you know a little bit of background on me, 19 years I was a stockbroker. So I learned many times that if you live and die by your marketplace that you're working in, it's going to be a very tough career. So I am now about 25 years in commissions. I've never made a salary in my life. So real quick, just so you know a couple of things, the average person right now would think Florida is an amazing place for real estate. But just so you can understand, I'm having a pretty good year with Florida being the worst state in the country right now for real estate. Okay, 4 out of the 5 top cities in the country with the most inventory is in Florida. And the market that I preside in, Melbourne, Palm Bay, Space Coast, according to CoreLogic, it is the #1 ranked riskiest place in the whole country to buy a home. So when people ask me, what's my motivation? Do you really need any more motivation than that? So I think one of the keys to my success has been urgency. And when we have urgency within ourselves, then I think we could spread that urgency to our clients. So I just wanted to go over some basic things with you. Being educated. Now, when many people think about being educated, they're just thinking about the local amount of inventory, how many homes have sold, but most of them do not look further than basically what's going on in their current market. So the real important thing is knowing what's going on around the world. So I recommend that everybody download the CNBC app. Okay, CNBC is so much more than just looking up stocks. If you download that app and you go to the real estate section and just watch that, I feel like most people in this business right now are not putting in at least the 15 to 30 minutes a day that they should really be doing. On top of that, there is also something called Mortgage News Daily. That's another app. You know, one of the first things I'll say to people when they ask me what the current rate is, I'm not a mortgage lender. I can't really quote that. But when you're out there real time and they're putting in buying signals, this is stuff that you truly want to know. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which I think is very important, is contacts. Okay, this is definitely a contact sport. Okay, actually, the name of that was CNBC was the first app, and then I'll end up putting in the other app in a little bit to give you that information. So a lot of you people may know the terminology MC, right? MC stands for Master of Ceremony. What I think we need to be is an MC, a Master of Communications. Okay, and for me, it's when people say, well, I'm not good at cold calling or I'm not good at open houses. To me, it's all the same exact thing. It's prospecting. So I make phone calls. I send out newsletters. I do open houses. I sponsor community events. I have billboards out there. And so the most important thing that I think we need to understand is that educating yourself on all real estate. Okay. The second thing is that you need to perfect your rebuttals in real time. Now, I've only been doing this for 7 years, but I think it's been a long time since people have been saying mortgage rates are at 7%. I don't want to buy. And you have to figure out on how to close these people because they actually want to buy. They definitely also want to sell. I believe in something called time blocking, but as we get busy, it's really hard to fit that into the calendar time of the day. So my question to you is, if you're out there on the road, okay, and you're just driving around, instead of listening to music, why don't you pick up that phone and start dialing somebody? Okay, too many people are like, who? Who am I going to call? What? What am I going to talk about? And why am I calling them? And to me, it is just the urgency that I have that motivates me to make these calls because we're only as good as, really our last sale. So when I talk about education, it's really, you know, them perceiving you as actually knowing more than them. Because as soon as that prospect believes that they know more than you, in my opinion, a lot of time that sale is lost. So I'll give you an example. Like, let's say you're working with a seller right now, a potential person that wants to sell their home, right? And what they're going to tell you is, well, I don't want to sell my house right now. Homes aren't selling, and other reasons. Now, most of you have heard the terminology of golden handcuffs. Golden handcuffs is the current marketplace that we've been in for the couple of years. What that basically means is that most of these sellers have such an incredible mortgage rate that they are handcuffed from selling their home. Okay. Now, if any of you have heard that, whether they're telling you that or not, that is the actual case. So if I want somebody to sell their house now, because again, we're in this business to do business, I'm going to say, listen, I totally understand that most people have low mortgage rates, but since the beginning of the year, inventory across the home is up. Some of those people have low mortgage rates, but they've decided to raise their hand and list their house. My concern is if rates start to come down a little bit, and we've already started seeing people putting their house up for sale, you are going to see a ton more of people putting their homes up for sale. And it's simple math. When a buyer has more to choose from, they dictate the price, not you. So that's one of the things I would say to people when I'm trying to get a seller to actually sell their property. Another thing is about 6 months ago, I heard so many people say, oh, I'm just going to list. I'm just going to work with sellers because, it's too expensive to buy a home. The reality is those same real estate agents, none of them are saying that right now. They're all saying that their homes are not selling. I can't get it sold. So I think part of my success comes from doing the little things. Okay. Instead of doing a 2-hour open house, do a 4-hour open house. Okay. Your homes aren't selling, do an open house in the middle of the week. Okay. The little things to me matter. When I do an open house on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day it is, I'm putting up my signs 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm not putting them up at 11:50 right before the open house starts. And the reason why I do that is it only takes one. Maybe that person driving around at 7 a.m. or walking in the morning, that's my buyer. So, those are some of the things that I've done. And this year, really, the sales that I've had more than anything is an effect, right? The sales are the effect. What's the cause? Just doing all of those little things is really the cause, and this ultimately ends up being the effect. Now, I'm not here to say anything personally at anybody to you, but I've been at EXP for about 3.5 years, and I am having the most success in my whole career, stockbroker and real estate right now. And I would love to say it's all EXP, but around 3.5 years ago, I started getting my butt back in the gym. Because here's the deal. Some people are going to have immediate success on day one, right? But it's not how you start, it's how you finish in real estate. So some people, it may take 2 years, but you have to build the discipline. And it's hard when, for newer agents or even me, sometimes you're out there working hard. It's hard to keep that discipline. It's hard to keep that willpower. This is the challenge I ask everybody to do. Starting tomorrow, you are going to start to have discipline in two things: work and exercising. And you do them both at the same time. And whichever one wins the race, you're still winning. You are still winning regardless of which one wins the race for you. Now, to get back on some of these rebuttals, I think we really need to focus on rebuttals because it's not the same as it was before. Okay, I don't know how it is in other states, but here locally, home builders are winning. They have the awesome rebuttal for high interest rates. You go to them and they'll give you 5% for the life of the mortgage. You go to them and they'll give you $30,000 towards closing costs. So when a buyer is all bent out of shape on the mortgage rate, pivot. Hey, let's go look at new construction. Um, when I think it's pretty true across the country. We've been seeing a reduction in prices. What I've noticed when I've been on the buy side and even the sell side is most of these deals are coming in 10, 15, $20,000 higher than the reduced offer price. So people are walking in day one with equity. Whoop-de-doo, who wants 15,000 in equity? I'd rather have a lower mortgage rate. So if a buyer is not interested in new construction and doesn't want to go that route, they need a house right now. You say, listen, I totally understand what you're saying about the mortgage rate, but I did my research on all these homes you were interested in. And based upon what I'm seeing, this house is worth $20,000 more than it's listed for. Let's go ahead and offer $15,000 more. Let's ask the seller to credit us back money so we can buy down the rate. Because the only other scenario we have is waiting for rates to come down to 5%. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take out my popcorn and watch the 15 or 20 offers that comes in on every house because everybody is waiting for rates to drop. So does anybody have any questions, anything? I know I've been spitballing a lot of stuff. And a lot of this will also apply for agent attraction. For example, your time blocking agent attraction. Well, I've been busy. I've been in meetings. Get in your car when you're driving. Pick up the phone and start calling people. 10 calls a day, 25 calls a day is something that 99% of the competition is not doing right now. So if anybody has a question, I'd just like to answer anything to the best of my abilities. Anything? Hey, let's see if I got some more stuff to go over. Let's see, put in the chat.
Yeah, and Eugene, if you can drop in the name of the app and the mortgage newsletter thing too, so that it's in chat. All those up.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat right now.
I think it's a great idea to staying constantly informed of what's going on and keeping your head in the news.
And I don't need to repeat the same things, but being responsive. I can't tell you. I had a guy today who called me when I was way in Bahamas. I picked up the call because I knew he's a potential listing. He's like, man, Eugene, I can't believe you picked up my call when you're on vacation. And I'm not saying that you do that. I did that to get perception. It was a time when I wasn't with my family. I had 5 minutes. I answered the phone. It's all right. So I put in Mortgage News Daily and then CNBC app. So here's one of the interesting things. When I was a stockbroker for many years, all I did was sell tangible, I mean intangibles. Here's the interesting thing. Real estate is tangible. But when it comes to buyers and sellers, their conversation with us is almost always about the intangibles, right? Buyers are talking about future prices and future mortgage rates, but they're not talking about something that is actually going on right now. So in essence, it becomes an intangible because it's not happening right now. We cannot control these intangibles, but I think once you accomplish answering those rebuttals or knowing what they're going to say with mortgage rates, whether it's a buyer or seller. And look, I know some of you have, you don't need to hear open houses and things like that, but for some of the newer agents out there, or some agents that are really trying to step it up this year, for sale by owners are wide open, right? For so many years, they've been getting stigma, but in about 45 days, every seller is technically becoming a for sale by owner, right? We're going to have to negotiate our commission. So when we talk about low inventory, which we've had in the past, 2 years ago, inventory was low. What I did was I actually helped my community by going after that for sale by owner, getting them to list, and actually creating real inventory. And when you do that, you actually have a new client that can compound, potentially doing more referrals with you, and more business with you. So yeah, I just want to see if anybody had any questions about anything. I checked today. I started in August of 2017, and I just hit under 92 million in sales since I started. This is an average market where the average home is around 350 to $400,000. And here's the thing: even if you have no sales right now, if you start getting known as that guy works his ass off or that girl works his ass off, if you can just get that all the time, that's the consensus of what people feel about you. It's a foregone conclusion that you're going to make money. And anybody that's on this call right now that's looking for any additional guidance or anything that I can help out, yes, Tom, you're going to ask a question, buddy?
Yes, Eugene, thanks for seeing my hand. Couple of things that I just connected while you were talking here. You mentioned time blocking is key. And then you mentioned before that some of the things that you're doing every day, prospecting, open houses, sponsoring community events. Am I wrong to assume that the 92 million in sales that you've had since 2017 in a 350 to $400,000 market has come from what you're doing every day? And if that's the case, it sounds like the hustle and grind. What specifically would you say the 1 to 3 activities that you do relentless every day? John Maxwell says the key to your success is found in your daily habits. What are your daily habits that you would attribute the most of your success to? And are you time blocking those?
Spending 15 to 30 minutes a day educating myself. That's first and foremost, because once you start doing that consistently, you can kind of read through some of this information. If you remember the movie Short Circuit, like Johnny Five, that robot that could scan everything. When I'm looking at this stuff, because I've looked at this stuff for 25 years now with just studying the stock market and things like that. Second thing is cold calling. I will find, even if it's 10 minutes a day, I am going to cold call. Okay. That's like if you're running late and you can only get into the gym for 20 minutes to exercise, that's my 20 minutes. That is really the real growth, because then you're sharpening your skills. And ultimately the results will come from there. Let's see what the third thing is. Okay, the third thing is just treat others the way you want to be treated. Right. So this is interesting. When I first came into the business and I found out that somebody I was working with went to new construction and signed up without me, I sent the text back to them. I'm like, oh, you went over the new construction? How come you didn't tell me about it? You should have told me about it. After I did that text, that completely went away. You sound desperate. So if you're a desperate person every day, fine. But if you're not, then just treat others the way nobody owes you anything. And one of the keys to my success, I think, has been coming from a point of giving to people rather than give me, give me, give me. What can I give to you? Oh, yeah. Oh, you want to know how I do for sale by owners? No problem. I've learned that so much from EXP. I've had people like John Sy, Brent Gove, everybody kind of opens up their playbook to share with you. And I think that's the real genius and key in this. I think that those are the intangibles that, if, for example, every realtor, whether you're working with a realtor on the other side of the transaction and they are terrible and they are miserable, you kill them with kindness. You get through the deal. You know what? Because they have to like somebody. They can't hate everybody in the world, and they're going to end up liking you. Sorry about it. Yeah, Tom.
No worries. I love what you said. Educating yourself, cold calling, and being kind to others. Love all three of those. Yet two of those are not regarding activity. They're a mindset and a way of being. So what I'm really trying to drill down on you, especially for the new people here, is what activities are you doing that are generating business? You only mentioned cold calling, which it's hard for me to believe you generated 92 million in sales from cold calling. Those are the least likely to convert and take the most amount of effort to convert the fewest. What are the things that you're doing that are your secret sauce as far as prospecting that you are time blocking for every day?
Okay, well, what I do as far as cold calling is concerned is so like I said, it's all these things that I do equal more than just one thing. So if I'm cold calling, if I'm doing open houses, if I'm doing door knocking, okay, they to me are all one thing. Okay, they are all prospecting. It's all the same to me. And when I can never get emotionally attached to that, then I can never get complacent. I'm not going to say my wheelhouse is in cold calling because I may catch that buyer on the wrong day, right? It was the worst day in the world to call them. So the way I conduct my prospecting is I do open houses. I follow up with them with phone calls. I call expireds. I call for sale by owners. I'll door knock with a purpose. Everything to me is purposeful. Let's add that in, purposeful. Oh, like I have people in my group, and I'm not, look, maybe this works for people, but they're like, hey, Eugene, I'm going to go door knock and tell them I'm doing an open house. They live in the neighborhood. They know there's an open house going. Why don't you knock on their door after you did the open house, especially if you had traffic and said, hey, look, I just handled this open house. I'm totally surprised. Things are starting to pick up. And I think it's because of this neighborhood. Would you happen to know anybody in the neighborhood that's looking to buy or sell? Because what I got in these conversations today is this is a neighborhood that people want to live in. So it's just a purpose. Or if I just got this listing to close above asking and it's sold in one day, I'm going to door knock them. Because unless I'm sending a postcard every single month, I'm throwing money down the drain. I am the biggest reason. Like, I'm a pretty humble guy, but I think I am the biggest reason. It's me, right? It's part of the confidence that you end up building for yourself. And so with for sale by owners, my approach is simple. I call for sale by owners up and I say, reason for the call. I noticed you're selling your house at 123 Street, right? Great. What commission percentage are you paying to a realtor who brings you the buyer who buys your home? And then whatever they say, 2%, 3%. Then I say, great. What I'd like to do with your permission this weekend is host an open house for you for 5 hours. And then the fun starts, right? They're like, oh, I don't do open houses. And then there's a million rebuttals. I could send out a rebuttal to everybody. Just send me your email and I'll give you the rebuttals that I tell people. And that's it. I have just, if anybody could ever take a squirrel, like can take something and multiply it, I've just been able to multiply it by being intelligent, responsive, not afraid to call it like it is, and just stand on my own too, and don't let anybody put me down or make me feel a certain way. And this year, I've actually, for the first time in my career, as I have not taken listings. If I feel like a listing, I could look 2 or 3 steps ahead and see where this is going. It has actually worked out. I've had it where I didn't take a listing, and then literally a half an hour later, somebody calls me and we're starting to do some business. Anybody have anything else?
Eugene, I want to just say thank you for being here today and jumping in for Brent. Awesome job. And I can tell you're on fire. Super good stuff. We'll have the recording of this on the Brent Gove YouTube channel. So if you guys want to share this, this stuff with your, with your team, with your organizations, and invite them to this call. And so thanks again, Eugene. We really appreciate you jumping in here. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place, 1%, 1:30 PST. And this one starts at 2:10. So thanks, man. Great job.